Welcome in, everyone. This is our flow recap for the week of 1/20 to 1/20/24. Shorter week. Monday was Martin Luther King Day, so we had a little shorter list this week. As always, if you like these videos, please always like, comment, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps other people find it that may want to learn how to read flow properly. And as always, before we get started, I do like to show everybody that may be new tuning in. These are all this flow is posted in Discord. I post it in real time. I don't edit anything, so everything's in here. All our ETF flows in here. Everything's in here. So everything's posted for transparency purposes. A couple of these were posted on X as well. So let's get started here. So we're just going to kind of go over the flow, kind of what stuck out, all that stuff. So first up on 121, we had RKLB, the 221.32 calls. So we look at that. So let's go back to 121. Actually, we're going to do it this way. So back to 121 here. So that was Tuesday. You can see this is how the flow came in. We got in here at 209 actually. So 209 here, obviously we're looking at the flow here. A lot of ask side flow coming in here. You can see we made a nice little move up intraday here, but bumping this back out to Friday now. So these actually hit the high of the week today. So you can see this is our original entry here. You can see we hit our high of 415 today. So those moved 116%. So at the time, come back here, you can see that huge spike in the net call premium there on January 21st. Pretty flat otherwise, but huge spike in the net call premium. Good sign there. And you come back here and kind of look at the flow also. We look at that raw flow here. Let me pop that filter down. I'm going to actually remove the time here so we can look at the flow for the day. And I apologize, I am getting a little sick, so the voice is barely holding up, but you can kind of see as that flow's coming in here, you can see this is a flow alert. So you can kind of see that IV popping as we're coming in here. Seeing ask side fills, a little bit below the ask there, but still on that ask side. You keep coming down here, you can see some more here. So bid side, usually I typically wouldn't follow, but you can see that IV's increasing. So these were actually buys at the bid. So this is why I always tell everybody you need to look at the raw flow. You can't just assume everything a bid fill is a sell and everything ask side is a buy. Have to kind of do a little due diligence here. So that flow kind of looked good there. So again, you can see that moved. So again, those moving from that 192 to a high of 415, 116.15% max return there. All right, so moving on now, we have MSTU. And again, some of these are a little longer term, so keep in mind on the longer term flow, they're on a longer term time frame. They're probably not looking for a move in 1 to 2 days. But let's take a peek here at these 321.18 MSTU calls. So this was a really interesting one because these came in again on the 21st. Let's go back to the 21st. So you can see the flow here. Clearly an opening trade based on that volume to open interest. Majority of that carrying over. Most of it's still there. We look at the raw flow. So you can see we have two floor trades come in here. So 245, you have that ascending fill. And that IV is creeping up, which is a good sign there. You come back here and look at that. So these did make a move intraday from that 247, and we did hit a high of 3 on the day. So you can kind of see that in here, 3, which gave you a 20% intraday move. I always tell people I look for at least 15%. I'll still be adjusting up stops if I'm up 10, 15% just to secure profits. Shouldn't be letting trades that are 15, 20% turn red again. But kind of looking back at this flow, so again, you can always do what you want with this information too, but looks like this whale's still in too. Again, 56 days, so they're on a longer time frame. And if we look at the net premium here, we pop this back 7 days. Again, you don't see a lot of net put premium here. A lot of net call premium here, with January 21st being the big spike there, which would be this whale. So I marked those as a win because it's above 15%. Whale's still in. Again, do whatever you want with that information. So moving on now, we had BAC. This was a flow and charts idea, so this is a play that I actually took. So I like to pop that in here. I was very selective this week, not a lot here. So flow and charts, we had large ask side put here, 178 days out. Notice the drop in that daily gamma. And that chart looked like it was a spot for maybe a possible drop. So these contracts, the whale filled these at 196. Opened up here, actually got filled at about 205 I did. I marked those as a 206 fill. So they made a 10% intraday move. I wanted to kind of move stops up. I wanted to secure profits. I let everybody in the group know that. So whale looks to still be in here. Again, 175 days. Can always re-enter that too. This whale is actually still slightly up there, about break even to where we would have got them. And you kind of look at that net premiums at the time. Let me bump this back 7 days. Not a ton of net premiums, but some spikes in that net put premium. So really interesting there, which is what stuck out there. So moving on. So that was 206 to 228, 10.68%. Small, decent little intraday trade. So up next we have MMM. This was right after earnings. So these coming in on the 21st. Again, kind of looking at that raw flow here. Can see as that flow started to come in. So we have repeated his descending fill. So I'll show you where that descending fill is here. I can see it right away, but you can see where it kind of dropped from that 5.14. So this is, again, why it's always important to look at the raw flow. This is still a buy, even though it's a descending fill. You're only 1 cent away, and it's only a 1 contract buy. This is a buy at the ask, obviously, and you can kind of see that flow come up here. So we drop here a little bit, but that bid ask is a little odd there. But continuing on that ask side up, you can see that IV following suit. Little drop here, but not a huge drop. And these contracts moving from 121, let's bump this back to 122 because these actually gapped up pretty nice. So you can see how that flow came in here. So we got these at 420. So you can see that first wave of flow that came in, we got that at 420. It actually ended up gapping up and hitting a high of 765. So that would be a 82.14% return. Looks like most of this flow is still in here. You can see that in that open interest. So a good sign there. And obviously this was right after earnings. We come back and look at the net premiums. Lots of net call premium here. Lots of net call premium, but a big dump in that net call premium today, but most of it came back. So again, you can always do what you want with this information. This whale looks to still be in with 35 days to go. But that hitting our target, so 420 to 765, 82.14% on those. Up next, we had some LUNR calls, 221.27 calls. These being filled on the 22nd. So this was our 22nd fill. I'm going to pop this back to the 22nd. So 22nd, this is what we had come in. 139, I have us filled at 145. We look at the flow here. Again, let me pop these results down. Let's go to the next page, see if it lets me. So you can kind of see that IV was a little lower until that flow came in. Let me pop back out here. So then you can see that spike in that IV there. That spot being filled at the ask looks good there. And we look at, let's go back to today now. So you look at the last 7 days on both the flow and the net call premiums. This was our day on the 21st. So we saw there was a big spike on the 21st in net call premium. Not a lot going on here, but last 2 days, Big spikes in the net call premium again. These contracts running from that 145 right here. 139, but I have a 145 fill. Hitting a high of 247 today. So that's a 70.34%. So would have had to hold those about a day with those being red. Not too bad, especially with 28 days on them. Looks like most of that volume's still there. Then we have Schwab. This one is one of our trades that are down right now. So again, 28 days on these being filled at 105. We look at the raw flow. So 22.92, you can see that IV, you can see that spot being filled at the ask there. So, I mean, this looks like a buy to me. You're getting a lot of this ask side put flow. You look at the net put premiums. Not a lot. This was obviously on Monday here that we had that spike in that net call premium, which was after earnings. So that's where you're seeing that big spike there, but not a lot going on now. So pretty flat. 28 days, they're probably looking for some profit taking and all that. Again, that whale's still in. This whale was in at 105, and they're running at about 68 right now. Closed at about 68. So that whale's down about 35% on those. So I kind of like looking for discounted entries. This would be a discounted entry, I would call that. So moving on now, we have GME. This was a lotto call. I'm not going to dive super deep into that, but we'll look at the flow on that. The GMEs were posted on X. So for those that may have tailed that, good little move there. So again, you have a lot of that flow coming in here. I have that fill at 105. These hit a high of 145 on the day. 38% intraday lotto there if you took that lotto. You just kind of look at that net call premium. I mean, that thing was spiked for most of the day. Good little trade there. BDX, this was also another one that was posted on X. Here is our flow. Look at the flow here. So this is a good example here. You can see that, again, that repeated hits descending fill. There's your little fill in. This was a little wider bid ask. I typically try to stay away from this because fills aren't always the best. But you can see how aggressive that whale was, buying all at the ask essentially. And then you see that kind of that little dip there in that IV. So then we had our big whale come in here, or the big section of the trade come in here with 1,600 contracts at 97,000. Look at that spike in that IV. That's what sticks out. That's what I'm looking for there. And at the time, again, 2 days ago, net call premiums were pretty much up on the day. A lot of call volume and the textbook trade there. So SPY puts, this was an interesting one. So we had 5,000 contracts come in originally, and then we had 2,500. So that's about 7,500 right there. Now we look at the math. We had some bid side stuff come in about 2,500 towards close. So this whale about 2,540, closing their position here at 311. So that whale closed 380 to 311. And you can see that reflected here in that open interest. So you had 10,000 on the day, only half of that carrying over. This is the whale that carried over. We had 5,000 get carried over. So interesting, today we had 2 hits of about 5,000. We'll just say 5,000. 2 bid side hits there, about 5,000. So this whale looks like they closed intraday. And then this looks like our big whale here that closed for a loss at 321. So that whale closed, the original position was 396. Whale closed them at 321. That's an 18% loss on that one. So that is our other loss right now. Next up, we had these RGTI 131 13.5 puts. So this is another interesting one. So these made another intraday move, 140. They hit a high of 123. So they hit a high of 190 on the day. I'm I don't see where it hit that 190 in here, so I kind of put it at about 161 there. So that did hit that 15% move though. And interesting enough, we had a huge dip today, and it looks like most of that volume's still there. So this could have been a good discounted entry. I mean, these contracts are pretty much back to break even now, but they did hit at least our 15% goal, so that counts as a win there. Up next, BE, the 321.29 calls. Nice piece of flow here, filling at 326 and hitting a high of 480 today. Those moving for 47.24%. We look at the flow. Pop this down. Again, another one that says repeated hits descending fill. So we look at the IV here, you can see again ask side fills, and here is your small little dip, but still at the ask on a little wider bid ask. See that IV here, 81.69. You can see a jump in that IV there. Again, that spot being filled right at the ask. So don't let that repeated hits descending fill just automatically make you think these are sells at the ask. Again, should always be checking out the raw flow. I do this for everything I post. Again, you can see that IV kind of coming up here. Looked good. Again, a lot of time on those too. You look at the net call premium on the day. Huge spike in net call premium. Good call volume. Even today, net call premium. And again, these running from that 326 up to a high of 480 today. That's 47.24%. And we have two left to just touch on. So coin, I'm not going to dive super deep into this. Got 42 days on these. These coming in today. Right now, I'm not counting this as a winner or loser. Whale filling is at 10.18. If we look at the raw flow too, come in here and pop this down. Let me come over a page. So you can see that IV increasing as that flow comes in. Good sign there. Come back down here. Let me come back to that first page. Sometimes it gets a little funky on me. So we saw that IV increase, and then here's the rest of that flow again. Pretty big spread here, so all that coming at the ask. That is a very aggressive whale. Again, all of it at the ask. This is just repeated hits, no change in the fill or anything. So it looks like a buy to me. And you look at the net call premiums at the time. I mean, net call premiums spiked for most of the day here. Little net put premium with some put volume, but you look at the last 7 days. Very bullish on coin here. A lot of net call premium here. So that looks good. I mean, you got 9.2 million in net premium there on the call side. So a lot of net call premium there with a lot of time on those. And PSTG, these made a good intraday move today too. Running from 145, we hit a high of 185. That's 27.59%. Again, you can see that net put premium up, put volume up. We look at the raw flow, 37.40 or 34.76, and again see that ask side fill. You can see all that coming up here, and that descending fill again. Don't let that fool you, because here you are. It's one contract. So those making that intraday move of 145 to 185. Otherwise, that is kind of all I got for this week. A little shorter week, obviously. Have to be selective with flow. Busy week next week with earnings and FOMC, PCE, all that. So the list will probably be smaller again next week as well. Otherwise, if you're interested in trying unusual whales, I do have a discount code in the description if you're interested in joining Stock Hub, where I post all of this every week. There's a link in the description as well. Thanks for going through this with me too, as my voice is kind of going out. So have a great weekend, everyone.